great day. Can't say enough about what everyone at Duke has done here. It's been great to hear from Dr. White and meet with Coach Krzyzewski and Coach Cutcliffe and hear what they want for these programs and moving forward. And you sit back and you think about what it's going to be like to take over for someone like Bob Harris. There is no replacing Bob Harris. He was here for 41 years. He is and always will be the voice of the Blue Devils, but it's just an honor and very humbling to be chosen to follow in his footsteps.
David, what kind of responsibility do you feel you have, not just following Bob, but dealing with an incredible athletic program and two iconic coaches that you'll be dealing with?
I think the responsibility is to kind of do your part. The broadcast, first and foremost, is my responsibility, and taking that message out to the fans and giving the excitement that Bob brought every game. I know he didn't miss any games, but bringing that to the table and giving the best descriptions I can and telling the stories of folks on campus and being an ambassador for the brand and bringing that same integrity that Bob brought every day. Those are the things that I look to do.
You listen to Bob a lot, live in this area, live in the state?
Yeah, I have. I've lived in Winston-Salem for the last 7 years or so, and you get to listen to Bob quite a bit. It's unmistakable. Everyone knows the signature calls, but what I loved the most was there are certain guys these days in broadcasting that are somewhat scripted or focused on whatever their cliche or whatever their next career goal is, and you could always tell listening to Bob that he was on the edge of his seat and it brought you on the edge of your seat just trying to follow what was coming next, and that's certainly something I look forward to do.
How would you characterize your style? Who are the guys that kind of influenced you along the way?
Yeah, there's so many guys. I mean, I talk about Bob because I definitely feel like I'm in that vein. If you get a chance to hear my work, I've never been accused of not being exciting, sometimes over the top. But guys like him and Bob Rondo, who's called the games at Washington for a number of years on the West Coast, is certainly someone I model myself after. You're telling a story, but you're doing it with energy and passion, and that's what I want to do every day. And that's what I plan to do, and those are the guys that I want to follow.
Talking to Coach Knapp and Coach Cut, what are the next steps and how do you think you're progressing and building that relationship with them like Bob?
It was awesome. I mean, I was fortunate enough to work with Coach Krzyzewski in the fall, filling in for Bob a couple of different times, and it was funny when I came in to interview with Coach Krzyzewski, it was really more of a catch-up. We just sat down, he said, hey, good to see you again, how have you been? And just kind of talked. And when I met with Coach Cutcliffe, it was very similar. We just sat down and we talked about, some health experiences in my family and some things he's gone through, and he gave me some advice. And it really was an X's and O's talk. It was just getting to know each other, and that's really exciting for me.
So I'm sure part of the negotiation was you would get rid of the catwalk and you wouldn't have to climb up there. Or are you ready to make that climb time and time after?
That's part of the lore of being up there in the crow's nest. I mean, I don't think you'd want to do it any other way. So there were no complex negotiations for that. I'm very much looking forward to it.
How would you say how things fit, you think, when you come in? How did things feel when you talk to those guys, those coaches and everything?
Well, it was awesome. I mean, I've had a chance to work with a number of different colleges and universities across the country through my work with IMG, and you come on campus and obviously the success is unprecedented. Coach Krzyzewski is the gold standard in college basketball, but you get to meet him. I've gotten to meet a lot of the guys in the administration, a lot of folks on campus, and you quickly learn about Duke people and the way they conduct themselves, and people that work extremely hard but don't take themselves too seriously, and that's how I like to characterize myself. So immediately I knew this was going to be a good fit.
Talk about Bob and the legendary calls. Do you have a favorite radio call, either from Bob or to anybody in sports over the years?
Well, I mean, it's hard to top the Leitner call. I mean, I think that's iconic, and it's iconic for a reason. And what Bob did there, and I mean, that's the greatest call in the history of college basketball, not just in Duke tradition. So that one definitely stands out.
This is kind of a peak moment in your career, but everybody has to start at ground level. What were some of your first assignments in broadcasting?
Sure. I mean, I started in college. I was did App State women's basketball for a couple of years, got a chance to travel with the team and work with the coach and get to learn how that program works. And then over the last several years, you guys have all seen, I've done some work with a lot of colleges and universities in the ACC, the SEC, and the Pac-12, and had a chance to work with some of our national content and work with some of the best broadcasters in the country. I mean, you think about working with guys like, Joe Dean Jr., an SEC legend. I mean, to sit next to Dick Groat and call a basketball game. I mean, who gets to do that? Just a living legend sitting right there with you. And, at the same time, you're there and it's awesome to do it, but at the same time, you take a step back and go, this is surreal and this is awesome, and not many people get this opportunity, and I just feel very fortunate.
With all the changes in the media landscape in the past few years, has the job of the play-by-play man changed at all?
Yeah, I think the job has gotten broader in a good way. I mean, there was a time where maybe your outlet to the fans was confined to the broadcast or the radio station that they could pick it up on, and now you get a chance to pick it up wherever you can, whether it's through a TuneIn app and you're listening to the broadcast that way, or you're listening online, or after the game you're getting tweeted out the highlights, being able to hear how your guy made the call of any signature play. And to me, it's been great for the broadcast because it takes it out of just that 3 or 4 hour window, and now you can connect with the fan base and those that are listening 24/7 really.
I know you're North Carolina native. Where you're from and high school and all that?
Sure. I'm an Army brat, so it's kind of a complex story. I was born in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Immediately moved to Hawaii. My parents timed that terribly. 6 months to 6 years old, so I don't really remember that. But we moved around a bunch. Lived in a couple different places. Panama was cool. My dad was in the Army for 30 years, and then came back and went to high school in Fayetteville, and then went to college at Appalachian State, and have kind of been with ISP and IMG ever since.
Which high school in Fayetteville?
I went to Douglasburg for 2 years, and then Jack Rid opened up, so I went there for my junior and senior years.
Some schools, the broadcasts are synonymous with their coaches. So like Bob here, or Woody Dorman in Carolina, they're right there. Just being the lore. It's something you thought about long term. Wow, one day I could be, just as big as Bob has in a school like Duke and an ACC school.
I mean, I tend to think of myself as being focused on the work, and that stuff will take care of itself. I mean, my job is to go out and tell the story and call the games, and Bob built that, but he built that over 41 years. That's not something you're going to do on day one. So I look forward to in 40 years, hopefully people look back at me in that same respect, but for now, I just want to get to work and call the games.